Released on the 25th of February 2022, Elden Ring took the world by storm, becoming a favorite amongst audiences and critics alike. Mostly.
At the end of the day, go kill yourself.
For most of us, Elden Ring came as a much-needed breath of fresh air for the gaming industry, as many were beginning to feel that AAA games had become formulaic and lazy, losing touch with the audience that initially brought these studios fame. Elden Ring stands out because it still has appeal towards FromSoft veterans, but it also opens itself up in a way that allows new audience members to engage with their works, meaning that while the game draws in new players, it doesn't lose touch with its core audience. Also, it's just really goddamn good. Oh my god! Elden Ring won Game of the Year for 2022, but even more importantly than that, it became one of my favorite games. Possibly even my second favorite game of all time, behind Minecraft. And with the DLC around the corner, aka 2 months away, I thought I'd make a video talking about why I love Elden Ring. So let's begin. Let's begin by talking about combat. The game has lots of variety in terms of combat when it comes to weapons. There's tons of weapons to use, and there's tons of different ways that you can wield these weapons. Whether you two-hand them, or use one in each hand, or whether you do one in one hand and a shield in your offhand. And then there's the Ashes of War, which are little weapon arts that you can equip to your weapons, which just make shit even cooler. And even if you don't want to use weapons, there's spellcasting, there's incantations and sorceries, and there's just a shit ton of those. Like, it's honestly tons of fun to just experiment with different builds. And maybe even try to build characters from video games that you like. Cough cough Castlevania. The only real issue here is the lack of development in certain weapon categories, which leads to entire categories becoming virtually redundant further into the game. Leveling up is pretty simple. You collect runes, and once you meet Melina, if you have enough runes to level up, you get to level up. And each level allows you to add 1 point to a stat of your choosing, with 8 different stats to choose from. And if you think I'm going through each different stat, you're out of your goddamn mind. There are a variety of different builds you can make and just fuck around with, and I love this. You can unlock the ability as well to respec your character, meaning you aren't tied to builds. Basically, you can just experiment all the time, like maybe putting some levels into intelligence, so you can use sorcery, or putting some levels into arcane to be overpowered and use rivers of blood. I've done it. But honestly, the thing that makes all of this great is this game's bosses. The game's bosses require lots of trial and error, with you needing to fight them multiple times over to learn their movements and attack patterns in order to beat them. The bosses are difficult, and they only get more difficult as the game progresses, with each boss having crazier attacks than the previous ones, dealing more damage, or even just hitting you in different ways that you probably didn't see coming. And sure, the difficulty of each boss might really piss you off when you die to them for the 100th time, but god does it feel good to beat each boss for the first time. In saying that, there are also some shortcomings in this department. Duo bosses fucking suck. The Godskin duo are a pain in my fucking dick. But even then, most of the other duo boss fights in this game aren't that much better, as it's usually just 2 random enemies thrown together. 2 enemies which usually don't complement each other. And the other criticism I have of the bosses is mostly just the final boss. Elden Beast just isn't that fun, I don't really know how to put it. Elden Ring is difficult, and chances are if this is your first FromSoft game, you will die several times. And if trial and error isn't really something that you like, then Elden Ring is not your game. Elden Ring's difficulty is a very controversial aspect of the game, mostly because it cannot be adjusted, which really means that the only way to actually make the game easier is to either level up more, practice more, switch up your build, try new strategies, or even use summons, all of which require you to engage with the game more, versus just flicking a switch in a menu and not having to do anything. And I'm honestly fine with this, and at the end of the day, if you watching the video don't like this, then that's fine. Elden Ring is not the game for you. And before anyone fucking says it, no, difficulty options are not a feature of accessibility. I could go on a whole tangent here, but maybe that's for another video. I'm sure I've talked about this before. We'll save it and we'll move on. Elden Ring's map is huge, just like my dick, and the developers make use of every square inch of it. There is tons to explore within the world of Elden Ring, whether that's the various structures scattered across the lands between, whether that's the various castles, ruins, everjails, catacombs, a bunch of other structures that I can't think of right now. There's also tons of NPCs, a lot of which will give you quests. Honestly, you'll probably never run out of things to do. Like, I have sunk 270 hours into this game, and there's still shit that I need to do. Not to mention, the general locations of the game are just beautiful. Whether it's the golden splendor of Altus Plateau in the capital gleaming underneath the light of the Erd Tree, the snowy ruined battlefields of the mountaintops of the Giants, or even the decaying crimson ruins of Caelid, it all looks amazing. And the soundtrack. The goddamn soundtrack of this game is beautiful. Whether it's the simple ambient soundtracks playing as you take a nice relaxing walk through Limgrave or Liurna, or whether it's the very grand orchestral soundtracks that play for each boss as you desperately try not to die for the 48th time. It's all great, and it all comes together for the unique experience that is Elden Ring. But of course, we haven't discussed the only things that make Elden Ring such a great game. The goal of Elden Ring's story is very simple. Reassemble the Elden Ring and become Elden Lord. That is the goal that you, the player, must achieve. But that's also the goal that pretty much every other major character in the story either wants to achieve or wants to influence you in achieving. Which is why there's 6 different endings to the game, all of which, minus the standard ending, require you to complete major character quest lines, gaining their trust and building an alliance with them. I feel like each character has their moments to shine within their specific quest lines, and a lot of them have really good character development, and honestly, quite a good conclusion to their quest line, even if it is more tragic. The way that you figure out the world of Elden Ring is mostly by piecing together different tidbits of information from different characters, items, or locations, which will definitely take you multiple playthroughs, I'm just saying. This kind of piece it together yourself storytelling really adds to the atmosphere of the game, because it shows you that no one really knows everything about what's going on, and even then, are they really gonna tell you? And so this kind of thing adds to the mystique of the game. It really keeps you guessing. This is a special technique I like to call good storytelling. For the most part, you, the player, drive the story forward, which is kinda really what you'd expect, considering number 1, you're the main character, and number 2, you literally kill demigods, a feat which nobody else in the world has managed to accomplish. Overall, if you're willing to invest a few playthroughs into the game, you get a really good feel for the story and characters, and the lore as well. Or you can just watch some videos on YouTube about it. Honestly, I won't even blame you. I don't think I need to tell you that Elden Ring is a phenomenal game, and one that I'd highly recommend if you enjoy medieval dark fantasy games that also give you a little bit of a challenge, or a lot of a challenge in this case. Honestly, there's a lot I probably didn't get to talk about in this video purely because of how big this game is, but I also don't want this video to be 5 hours long. But if there's anything you wish I kind of discussed in this video and would maybe like to try and discuss it with me, we can discuss it in the comments, because I will be responding to any comments I can. Big thanks to everyone who watches my videos, likes, subscribes, and does all that good stuff. You guys are very much appreciated. Big shout out to my channel members as well, that's Hyperius and Kibakins, for helping to financially support the content on this channel, as inconsistent as it may be. Thank you guys so much. Currently I've only been uploading about 1 video a month, but I want to try and increase that to at least 2 videos a month, so that'd be 1 video every 2-3 weeks. Or I could potentially make other kinds of content where maybe I talk about other gaming related topics. I don't know, if that's something you guys would like to see, let me know down below. But again, thanks for watching, and until the next video, piss off. And some characters call you maidenless when you start the game, which is in fact a reference to the fact that you get no bitches. This is the true prepare to cry moment.